Ladies and gentlemen, there's a question that tugs at hearts and keeps so many of us awake at night. Why does someone who craves or someone we know feels that pull stay silent? Why does he choose the torment of distance when every fiber of his being longs to be near? The answer is complex, and it cuts deeper than we often allow ourselves to acknowledge. Tonight, I want to shine a light on this silence to help you understand it, and more importantly, to inspire you to move forward with grace and strength. Fear of vulnerability is one of the most profound and intricate reasons why someone might choose silence over connection, even when their heart craves otherwise. It's a deeply human experience, one rooted in our primal instincts and shaped by the stories we live and the scars we carry. To understand why fear of vulnerability holds such power, we must delve into the delicate interplay of emotion, self-preservation, and the raw complexities of human relationships. At its core, vulnerability is about exposure. It's about exposure. It's about peeling back the layers we use to protect ourselves and standing unguarded before another. For many, this level of openness feels akin to standing on a stage under a harsh spotlight, every flaw magnified, every insecurity laid bare. There's a risk in being seen so completely, and that risk often feels unbearable. The fear isn't merely about rejection, it's about the deep, soul-shaking pain of offering your truest self only to have it met with judgment, indifference, or dismissal. That fear can paralyze even the bravest among us. For some, this fear stems from past wounds. A harsh word, a broken promise, or a betrayal can leave marks that linger far beyond the moment. If someone has experienced rejection after revealing their vulnerability before, they might learn to associate openness with pain. The lesson becomes ingrained: if I let someone see the real me, I will get hurt over time. This belief becomes a wall, a fortress built stone by stone to guard against the possibility of further harm. The fortress may keep others out, but it also keeps the person trapped within. Fear of vulnerability also intertwines with the desire to maintain control. When someone keeps their feelings hidden, they retain a sense of power over the situation. They avoid the unpredictability that comes with baring their soul and surrendering to the unknown. Vulnerability, after all, requires trust that the other person will handle our truths gently, trust that they won't exploit our openness or use it against us. For someone who craves you but remains silent, their fear of losing control might outweigh their desire to connect. In their mind, staying silent feels safer than taking the leap of faith that vulnerability demands. Society, too, plays a significant role in shaping this fear. We live in a culture that often equates vulnerability with weakness, especially for men who are frequently taught from a young age to suppress their emotions and project strength at all costs. To admit longing, to express a need for someone else, might feel like an affront to the image they believe they must uphold. This internal conflict can create a powerful barrier to connection, one that is difficult to dismantle without self-awareness and growth. But fear of vulnerability is not always born of selfishness or cowardice. Sometimes it arises from a deep sense of care. The person may believe that by staying silent, they are protecting you or themselves from a situation they fear they cannot handle. They might worry that they will let you down, that they are not enough, or that their presence in your life would bring more harm than joy. This self-imposed silence can be an act of love, albeit a misguided one, driven by the belief that they are sparing you from their perceived flaws or inadequacies. What makes fear of vulnerability so poignant is that it often stands in direct opposition to the very thing the person desires most: connection. The craving for closeness, for understanding, for love burns brightly within them, yet the fear of vulnerability acts as a shadow, dimming that light. It's a paradox that can leave them feeling trapped, torn between the safety of silence and the risk of speaking their heart. This fear can manifest in subtle ways too. It's the text left unsent, the phone call avoided, the fleeting eye contact that quickly looks away. It's the hesitation to step forward, even when every part of them aches to do so. They may convince themselves that staying silent is the right choice, that it's better to keep their feelings hidden than to risk rejection. But in doing so, they deny themselves and you the chance to build something real. Understanding this fear doesn't mean excusing the behavior, but it does invite compassion. Fear of vulnerability is a deeply human struggle, one that touches us all at some point. It's a reflection of our shared longing for connection and our simultaneous fear of the pain that can accompany it. For those who wrestle with this fear, the journey to overcome it is not an easy one, but it begins with recognizing that the walls they've built to protect themselves also keep them from experiencing the fullness of love, connection, and belonging. A battle within himself is a struggle that no one sees, a war fought in silence, where the only casualties are the emotions, the hopes, and the dreams that never find a way out. It is often not the other person who is the true enemy in these situations, but the complex, contradictory forces within the individual, their fears, insecurities, and unspoken desires. When someone craves you but remains distant, it is often because of a fierce internal conflict that they cannot reconcile. This battle is not always clear, nor is it easy to understand, but it is real, and it rages inside the person who seems unwilling or unable to connect. The internal battle begins with a question that can plague the mind: am I enough? Deep down, there is a fear that they are not worthy of the connection they seek, not worthy of love or intimacy in the way that they need. This question doesn't always have an easy answer because it is shaped by past experiences, wounds, and the stories they tell themselves. It is shaped by moments in their life when they felt inadequate or failed to live up to their own expectations. It is shaped by a constant measuring of their value against the perceptions of others, and it whispers that they might not measure up. They may crave the closeness, the touch, the connection that you offer, but deep inside, they question whether they deserve it. This doubt paralyzes them, keeping them from reaching out and creating the very intimacy they long for. It's also a battle against the fear of making mistakes, of misstepping and failing. Life has a way of teaching us lessons in the harshest ways, and many people walk around with invisible scars from past failures. The fear of making another mistake can be so overwhelming that it stops them from trying altogether. For someone who craves you but cannot bring themselves to reach out, every potential action is analyzed, dissected, and viewed through the lens of past mistakes. The thought of taking a step forward and failing again, whether in the form of rejection, disappointment, or heartbreak, is enough to create paralysis. They fear that even the smallest gesture of connection might lead to something that will only leave them hurting once more. The weight of this fear becomes too heavy, and they retreat into silence, trapped in a loop of hesitation that only strengthens the inner conflict. There is the battle between desire and self-preservation. Desire is a powerful force that burns in the chest like a flame that refuses to be ignored. The longing for connection, for love, for understanding is undeniable. But self-preservation, that instinct to protect oneself from emotional harm, is often at odds with that desire. The internal conflict emerges when their yearning for closeness competes with the need to safeguard their heart. Love, connection, and intimacy require vulnerability, and vulnerability is seen as dangerous by someone who has been hurt in the past. The emotional scars are not just memories, they are warnings. The instinct to shield the heart from the possibility of pain becomes stronger than the desire to open up and experience joy. This creates a constant tug of war inside them, wanting you, wanting the connection, but terrified of what it might cost. The fear of vulnerability keeps them in check, ensuring that they never take that step forward. Compounding all of this is the pressure they place on themselves to be perfect. Society often teaches us that to be loved, to be worthy, we must be flawless. No one is allowed to be broken, to have flaws, to be in need. And for those who are already struggling with their own sense of inadequacy, this belief becomes a suffocating weight. They feel that if they were to reach out to you, if they were to expose themselves for who they truly are, with all their imperfections, their fears, and their struggles, you would see their brokenness and reject them. They are afraid that their flaws will be too much for you to handle, and in that fear, they keep their distance, battling against the person they know they could be if only they could let go of this pressure to be perfect. There is the battle between the present and the past. For someone who has been hurt, disappointed, or betrayed in previous relationships, every new connection is viewed through the lens of that history. They wonder if they can trust again, if opening their heart to someone new will just lead to more pain. The past becomes a shadow that looms over the present, clouding their judgment and making it difficult to embrace the potential for something beautiful. They crave the connection you offer, but they also fear that the same patterns of disappointment and hurt will repeat themselves. This internal war makes it almost impossible to move forward, even when their heart aches to do so. What's difficult to grasp is that this battle is not one that is visible to the outside world. They may smile, they may talk, they may engage with others, but inside the war rages. It is a quiet war, one that consumes their thoughts and shapes their actions or lack thereof. They may crave you deeply, but the internal conflict is too strong to allow them to act on it. They are torn between what they want and what they fear, between what they long for and what they believe they deserve. In the end, the silence you hear may not be a reflection of their feelings for you, but rather the expression of the fierce internal battle that prevents them from acting on those feelings. The comfort of distance is a curious and often painful paradox, one that we all experience in some form, though we rarely acknowledge it. It is the psychological armor we construct to protect ourselves from the uncertainties and complexities that come with human connection. For some, it becomes an almost involuntary response to the vulnerability and rawness that intimacy demands. The closer we come to another person, the more we reveal ourselves, and with that revelation comes the fear of rejection, disappointment, or hurt. In those moments, distance feels safe, secure, and so, despite the deep craving for closeness, a person may find themselves retreating into that distance. It becomes a sanctuary, a space where the risks of rejection, judgment, and emotional upheaval are kept at bay. Distance, at its core, is a defense mechanism. It's not necessarily that a person doesn't want to be close to you, or that they don't care for you in ways they can't articulate. It's more about their subconscious drive to maintain control over their emotions, to keep a barrier between themselves and the vulnerability that comes with allowing someone else into their world. Being emotionally distant means that they can keep their feelings intact, untouched by the fears and doubts that might come with opening up fully. In a way, this emotional distance offers them the illusion of safety, even though on a deeper level, it is often a prison one they have built for themselves. For someone who craves you yet chooses to remain distant, there is often an underlying belief that the fantasy of you is safer than the reality. When you are far away, there is no risk of being hurt. There is no possibility of the intimacy turning into something complicated, messy, or painful. The idea of being close to you, of fully investing in the connection, brings with it the fear of disappointment. When you are distant, there is no expectation of what could be. It's easier to maintain the image of a perfect connection, one that exists only in their mind, unmarred by the complexities of real-life interaction. When the person is at a distance, they can control the narrative in their mind. They can fantasize about what it would be like to be with you without having to deal with the potential awkwardness, vulnerability, or struggles that come with real relationships. This comfort of distance is not always about rejecting you or not wanting to be with you. It is more about not wanting to confront their own emotional limitations. It is easier to long for someone, to desire them from a safe distance, than it is to face the vulnerability of being loved in return. To be loved is to expose oneself, to take a risk, and many people are simply not ready to take that leap. They fear that the closer they get, the more they will have to show who they truly are, and in doing so, risk exposing their flaws, weaknesses, and insecurities. The idea of allowing someone into the deepest parts of themselves feels terrifying. In staying distant, they protect themselves from the pain of rejection and from the possibility of emotional exposure. It's a protective barrier that, for a time, offers them the comfort of the status quo, but it also keeps them from ever experiencing the depth and richness that comes with authentic connection. Distance allows a person to maintain a sense of control over their own emotions. They can choose when to engage and when to pull back, creating a pattern of selective vulnerability that prevents them from fully experiencing the emotional highs and lows of a relationship. When they maintain a distance, they are in control of how much of themselves they reveal. This control is comforting because it gives them the illusion of emotional invulnerability. as though they are immune to the unpredictable forces of love and connection. But this very control that they cling to often prevents them from forming deeper bonds with others. They find themselves stuck in a loop of longing for the connection they crave, yet never fully embracing the opportunity for intimacy when it arises. Your worth is not determined by your mistakes either. Too often we tie our sense of value to the errors we've made, the wrong turns we've taken, and the times we've fallen short of our own expectations. But mistakes are not a reflection of your worth. They are simply opportunities for growth, for learning, and for becoming a better version of yourself. When you make a mistake, it doesn't mean that you are worthless. It means that you are human. And being human means you are allowed to stumble, to fail, and to rise again, wiser and stronger. Your mistakes do not diminish your worth. They are simply part of your journey, a journey that makes you the person you are today. When you begin to understand the power of your worth, you start to recognize that you are worthy of love, respect, and all the good things life has to offer, regardless of your circumstances. You deserve love not because you are perfect, but because you are human. You deserve happiness not because you have earned it, but because you are deserving of joy and peace. You deserve success not because you have proven yourself to others, but because you have the strength, resilience, and drive to create the life you want to live. Your worth is not based on what you can give to others, but on the fact that you exist and have the capacity to contribute something unique and valuable to the world. The power of your worth also means that you no longer settle for relationships, jobs, or situations that diminish your value. When you understand your worth, you stop allowing others to treat you in ways that are beneath your dignity. You recognize that you do not have to accept anything less than what you deserve, and you begin to set boundaries that protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. You start to understand that saying no is not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-respect. You refuse to be diminished by others, and you stop allowing toxic relationships or situations to drain your energy and undermine your sense of worth. The power of your worth is also about stepping into your greatness. It is about believing in your potential, even when the world around you tells you to doubt it. It's about recognizing that you have something unique to contribute to the world, even if that contribution doesn't look like anyone else's. The power of your worth is about embracing your own voice, your own passions, and your own dreams, and knowing that they are worthy of pursuit. You are not here to live someone else's life. You are here to create your own, guided by the belief that you are worthy of every opportunity that comes your way. The power of your worth lies in the quiet yet unshakable confidence that you are enough just as you are. It is not something that needs to be earned, validated, or proven to anyone. It is simply the truth of your existence, the undeniable fact that you matter, that you have value, and that your life has meaning. When you embrace this power, you open yourself up to a life that is filled with possibility, growth, and fulfillment, knowing that you are worthy of all the blessings that come your way. It's not your job to wait. This simple but powerful phrase is often easier said than believed, yet it holds the key to freeing yourself from unnecessary suffering and empowering you to live fully in the present. In many areas of life, we find ourselves waiting for the right moment, the right person, or the right set of circumstances before we take action. We wait for validation, permission, or for someone else to take the lead. But in doing so, we waste time and energy that could be spent shaping our own future, forging our own path, and becoming the person we are meant to be. The truth is, waiting is not your job. Life is constantly moving, constantly evolving, and so should you. One of the most common ways we get stuck in waiting is in relationships. We wait for the person we care about to come around, to realize our worth, or to make the first move. We may tell ourselves that we are being patient, that we are being kind and understanding by giving someone the space to make up their mind. But in reality, we are losing valuable time that we can never get back. We put our lives on pause, waiting for someone else to decide whether or not we are worthy of their time, love, or attention. We allow ourselves to become tangled in the uncertainty of someone else's actions instead of taking control of our own. The painful truth is that waiting for someone else to determine your happiness is an act of self-neglect. It is an unconscious surrender of your power, a belief that your worth and your happiness are dependent on someone else's decisions. But the truth is, no one else can define your worth except you. It is not your job to wait for someone to realize how much you mean to them. It is not your responsibility to wait for someone to choose you, to put their life on hold for you, or to make up their mind about where you fit in their future. You deserve to be with someone who sees your value right away, someone who recognizes your worth without hesitation. And if that person doesn't come, it's not a reflection of your inadequacy, but simply that they are not the one meant for you. Life will never pause for someone else's indecision, and neither should you. We wait for the perfect conditions before we make a move in our careers, our personal growth, or our dreams. We wait for the stars to align, for everything to fall into place. We wait for the right job, the right project, the right moment to start. But the truth is, the perfect conditions rarely come, and waiting for them only delays our progress. Perfection is a myth, and the only way to move forward is to begin, regardless of whether everything is in order. Waiting for the right time is a form of procrastination, a way to avoid taking the risk necessary for growth. It's easy to stay stuck in a place of waiting because it feels safer, but in doing so, you're allowing your dreams to slip through your fingers. Every moment you spend waiting is a moment you could have spent building the future you want. It's also easy to fall into the trap of waiting for validation from others. We wait for someone to tell us that we are good enough, that we deserve success, love, or happiness. But external validation is a fleeting source of motivation. Waiting for someone else's approval or recognition means giving away your power and placing your value in the hands of others. Your worth is not dependent on someone else's opinion of you. The truth is, you don't need anyone's permission to be great, to be successful, or to chase your dreams. You are worthy of those things just as much as anyone else. When you stop waiting for someone to validate you, you open yourself up to the power that comes from self-affirmation and self-belief. You start to trust in your own abilities and your own worth, and that is when true growth begins. Waiting also steals your peace. It keeps you in a state of limbo, constantly unsure of what is coming next, constantly anxious about the future. But the present moment is all we truly have. The more you wait, the more you miss the richness of the now. You are not guaranteed a tomorrow, and by waiting for some future event to occur before you take action, you risk losing out on the joy and fulfillment that comes from living fully in the present. Waiting prevents you from taking advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you. Life is happening right now, and waiting for someone else to make a move or for perfect conditions to appear means that you are missing out on the possibilities that exist in the moment. It's important to realize that you are in control of your own life. Waiting on someone else to make decisions for you or to take the lead only takes away your agency. You are the one who must choose your path, take the necessary steps, and create the future you want. Waiting for someone to give you permission to live your life is a disservice to yourself. No one else knows your dreams, your passions, or your potential like you do. And no one else can take the steps needed to turn your vision into reality. It is up to you to act, to take risks, and to make the most of the opportunities that come your way. In the end, it's not your job to wait. It's your job to live, to take action, to create the life you want. Stop waiting for the perfect person, the perfect moment, or the perfect set of circumstances. Instead, take control of your own journey. Trust that you are worthy, that you are capable, and that the time to act is now. Your future is not something that will magically unfold. It is something you must actively create. So stop waiting. The world is waiting for you to step into your greatness, and the time to begin is today.